Well, I'm here with Terrence Washington, Mr. Terrence Washington. Welcome to the podcast, my dude.
Thank you.
You're one of the incredible men that are in the recovery ministry, Restoring Purpose
Yes, sir.
Ministries.
Yes, sir.
And I met you while we were preparing for the Giving Hope Christmas experience. A few days before, you and I unloaded over 1,000 toys,
Ton of boxes.
lots of toys, and so we were just getting everything ready. You came to volunteer, and you shared your story with me, and what a story! And look,
Yes.
so and of course we're gonna have this conversation, but there's been a lot of guys that tell a good story,
Right.
but they're making up stuff. But I fact checked it.
Right.
And Terrence Washington's story is the story.
Right.
It's the real deal. But you shared with me that that you were just getting released from prison. This is actually going to be your first Christmas in how many years?
In over 20 years.
First Christmas as a free man.
Yes, sir. In over 20 years.
Wow. And you know what? I've met a lot of people. I've done a lot of prison ministry in my life as a Christian, and I've met a lot of people that they're physically free, but they're not spiritually free. And you're free in more ways than one.
Yes, sir, I am. Yes,
And that was the thing that got my attention. Okay, you weren't, you didn't have any kind of you weren't proud of your story. You were proud and you were thankful about what Christ has done in your life.
Yes, I was. I was very thankful.
Yeah. And so I just thought, man, the listeners, anyone that hears this would be so encouraged by your story. But man, one of the elements of your story, and I know there's certain things that I don't think you told me anything that is super personal.
Right.
But one of the things that really kind of got my attention was you were telling me about your experience growing up.
Yes, sir.
You came from a really good family.
Yes, sir. My family was pretty prestigious. My mother was the supervisor in New Orleans for the FBI. Really worked a high position in the department. And my father is Terrence Washington. He was an accountant at Delgado Community College, where he retired and is still doing well for himself today.
Wow. I missed the part that your mom worked for the FBI.
Yes, sir. My mother worked for the FBI. So you can understand how, these clashes and everything occurred when my wrongdoings kind of overlapped over into her business and everything. And it was just kind of like a mess.
But one of the things we talked about, and I'm gonna let you, share your story, kind of how it all happened. But one of the things we discussed is how, there's a lot of people that go down a bad path of crime, of street life, because they didn't have any options.
Right.
But yours was you just got kind of pulled in by the culture.
Yeah, I got kind of pulled in by the culture. The culture, where we was raised in, we actually was raised in a nice neighborhood.
In Algiers, you said, right?
Yeah, in Algiers.
Which Algiers Point is really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. And, you go 4 blocks down this way or 4 blocks down that way, you're definitely in the hood.
Right.
And, curiosity being that I was raised the way that I was raised, I was kind of sheltered a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then when I finally did get a taste of everything in that environment, away from, my parents, the CNIs of my parents, I actually kind of strayed a little bit, and curiosity took the best of me and kind of grabbed me by the throat a little bit.
Wow. So I want you to, kind of share, and we have a limited amount of time, but how did it start? How did a nice kid from a nice family end up as America's most wanted? Not once, but twice? Twice. Well, so how did that even start?
Well, first we started stealing cars. A lot of us didn't have vehicles and stuff like that. We started stealing cars and, doing marijuana and stuff like that. And, those type of things will escalate to other things and stuff like that. But over the years, stuff started to progress. I was very curious about what the streets had to offer because both of my parents was Christians. And, we know that, evil has a way of finding itself trying to destroy a household, and I think that I was part of that that outreach of evil, as far as, you know, my mother and my father going, how they was trying to raise me, and a lot of doors was opened up to me that, you know, I regret that I've seen that, you know, kind of spurred me in a direction where I had I began to lead a life of crime, and yeah, that's how it basically started. It started out from stealing cars. And
so, like, what was the first, like, because I'm sure you did you steal like a small car? Was that like the first, and then you moved up to big cars, or was it? I'm sure it didn't start with cars, right?
Right. I mean,
maybe a motorcycle, like a go-kart.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, we kind of toy around a little bit because at that time I didn't have a driver's permit.
Oh wow!
And you know, it kind of spurred from, you know, stealing cars and, you know, wanting to be you know, like rappers and stuff like that, kind of having the things that they had. You know, it was drugs everywhere, you know, outside of our neighborhood and everything. And my mother and my father instilled the value in me that, you know, we shouldn't be living by the worldly rules of manifestation, man's goods and stuff like that. And so, you know, that kind of took a turn in my life where I was seeing other kids having things, and I definitely felt as though I needed to partake in those things, and it kind of took me down a road that led me to eventually become America's Most Wanted.
Wow. Yeah, there is like an appeal to being known, even in bad ways, right?
Sir. Yes,
the
sir.
dude not to mess with, you know, and I guess that probably played a part in it, I guess, huh? Like as far as, you know, reputation. I mean, dude, I didn't grow up in the streets. I went to a private school, but there was still the reputation of Baton Rouge.
Well, I actually did go to a private school.
Yeah. Okay,
I went to Word of Faith Ministries in New Orleans off of Bundy Road.
Yeah.
You know, it was like one of the biggest churches in New Orleans East.
Wow.
I actually went to a private school.
Come on.
And wound up getting kicked out of the private school and going to an elementary public school, and that's where I was introduced to car theft.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it was when you went from the private to the public?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
A couple of guys of mine who I was going to school with, we was all friends. It first eventually started out as we didn't have cars to go to the skating ring. We knew that's where all the girls was located at.
Okay.
And we needed transportation, and, you know, one thing led to another, and that so goes my story as being a car thief.
Wow. I don't know if I know anybody. None of my friends ever stole a car. I had this one friend that went through this phase where he was stealing car emblems.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Mercedes things, the Honda, and he would sell them on the side.
Yeah, that was real popular back in the early 80s, like around 86,
Right.
87, 88. You know, everything was about wearing medallion jewelry.
Oh, okay, so they make necklaces out of it.
Right. Some people would get them dipped in gold and, you know, put them around their neck. And to think back of all that right now, it was pretty cheesy.
It is pretty cheesy. I think it was a Mercedes or a Honda emblem glued to my JanSport backpack.
Is that right?
Yeah, so I walked around knowing, I got this.
Yeah.
Honda JanSport.
Okay, you was foreign.
I don't know why.
Right.
I think maybe that might have even been before Fast and Furious, but like those you know, those hopped up four-cylinder cars were popular. So maybe that's what the Honda, or maybe I couldn't afford a Mercedes emblem, so I bought a Honda emblem. You know, that might be
the
what
first
it was.
one drifting on feet.
Right. That's funny. You started stealing cars.
Yes, sir.
How long did you? Was it before you got arrested for the first time? Like, were you good at it?
Oh, I was pretty good at it, you know. And a couple of times, you know, I had actually made the news about stealing cars and stuff from Louisiana to Mississippi. And a couple of people had movie production guys had came along and asked my father, you know, could he tell my story about, you know, the things they had been seeing in the media about me as far as, you know, stealing cars and dealing with things like chop shops and stuff like that. And, you know, Nicolas Cage actually came to New Orleans and kind of like based his his Gone in 60 Seconds, kind of like off our old crew.
Yeah.
He came and shot that, and my nickname was actually the Ghost.
Okay.
And that's what they called me. And in the movie, his name was the Ghost.
Oh. There's something there. So Nicolas Cage played you.
Well, in theory, but
I would have picked somebody else.
Right.
Who would you want to play you in a movie? Probably not Nicolas Cage.
No, not Nicolas Cage.
Unless he did like the blackface thing, maybe.
Right.
But you can't do that
you
anymore.
Can't do that anymore. That would be big trouble. Maybe somebody like Michael P. Jordan or something like that. In his
That's a good
time.
one.
Yeah. I think he could pull it off.
I'm trying to think of who I'd want to play me. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like Russell Crowe when he was younger.
Oh, you kind of look like Russell Crowe.
That's what someone told me one time in my life, and I kind of haven't let go of that.
Yeah, I could see.
So Michael B. Jordan, that would
Michael
be
P. Jordan, yeah, because we kind of got the similar build and stuff like that. The head alike,
Okay, I like that. But he's super serious. Are you a serious guy? You're pretty lighthearted.
Yeah, I'm
He
pretty
seems kind of serious.
Yeah, he seemed kind of tuned in a little bit, and seems like somebody who's really invested in his craft.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah.
Okay, so when that whole when they approached your dad, that's before you got arrested.
Yeah, that was actually before I got arrested.
That was just your reputation was that strong.
Right. It was growing, and it had continued to grow because I had continued to manage, outwitting my captors, which was, the law enforcement who was actually on my trail about, those cars we was taking. And
so you're moving a lot of cars.
Yeah, I was moving quite a lot of cars. Then that's why I was.
So it was
actually
organized.
Right.
This was racketeering stuff. Okay. Yeah. It's not like stealing a car and ragging it out and then getting another one. You're like.
Yeah, we was
few a night probably.
We was actually moving them.
Wow. I've had two cars that I hate. And I've always hoped someone was going to steal them, but they've never been a car that anybody wants.
Right. I've actually had a few myself.
I had this one car. So I was working for my dad doing home inspections. So I was driving from Baton Rouge to Houma to New Orleans to Slidell to Baton Rouge several times a week.
Right.
And it was the only brand new car I've ever had. It was a Nissan Titan.
Okay.
And it was drinking gas. So I traded it in for a Honda Element. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I've seen one before.
That's those ugly box things.
Right.
Which was very practical, good gas mileage, but it was stupid looking. Once I finished that job, I left the keys in that car for 3 years, and nobody ever stole it. In the worst neighborhoods, I go into the gas station, nobody ever stole it.
Well, that car must have been in a pretty bad shape.
It was in great shape, but nobody wanted it. Right. Who the heck wants to drive a box around?
You said that was a Honda Element?
Yeah. It was it was terrible. Okay, so then, this car theft, escalates. You end up getting arrested at some point, I guess.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I actually was arrested a few times, and I didn't actually get arrested in Louisiana. I actually got arrested in Missouri, where I was caught actually in the act of stealing a car, and I had received a sentence for 10 years.
Okay.
And that so went my journey as far as stealing cars, and I had done it actually for a lot of years that didn't get caught. And when I did get caught, I thought I was going to get a little bit of time, but I actually wound up getting a lengthy 10-year sentence.
Wow.
In the state of Missouri.
So did you do that 10 years?
Well, I actually had to do half of it, and by me being a model inmate who underwent a lot of programs like the ones you also offering in your program at RPM, and I was granted an early parole, an early release.
Okay, so you did 5 of the 10.
Yes, sir.
And this is before you did all the escaping stuff, right?
Yeah. This was pretty much before all the escaping stuff.
Okay, because I can't remember what they called you. What was it?
The Ole Washington Bail Out.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get there. Okay. They also made fun of your rapping on that video.
Yeah. I used to, like I was telling you, my car stealing career and the things that I was doing, around my neighborhood was based off of the things that we, luxurized as seeing rappers and stuff like that. And I always wanted to kind of emulate those guys because I thought
this was in the 80s or 90s?
This was it began in the 80s in like 88, 89.
Okay.
And I wanted to always emulate those type of guys because I thought they was cool. They had all the girls. And
dude, when No Limit was in Baton Rouge, like everybody, at least I can't say everybody, I wanted to be a No Limit soldier. So I had a Jeep at the time and I blacked out all the windows, even tinted the windshield.
Right.
I wanted people to think, oh, that's one of those No Limit soldiers driving around. And then I'd get out of the car and they're like, oh, that's not it.
That's no Master P.
That's not Master P. Okay, so you do that 5 years. You get out as a model inmate.
As a model inmate. Well, I didn't actually get out at that time.
Oh.
It took me another year and a half, and I actually had to maintain my good behavior and stuff like that, and I wind up escaping.
From that 10-year sentence?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I wind up escaping, and I had been on the run for quite some time. And
so you escaped from the prison or from Parish? Was it Parish Prison?
No, I escaped while I was in transport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. While I was in transport, I had wound up escaping, and pretty much wound up getting caught not long after it.
Okay. Is this when you got out of the handcuffs?
Yeah, that was one of the scenes that.
Okay, so I keep referencing a video. It was on America's Most Wanted in the late 80s or early 90s?
This was in roughly the late 90s.
Late 90s.
Yeah,
okay.
Late 90s.
Okay, that's when you were on America's Most Wanted.
That's when I was on America's Most Wanted.
Okay. And I'm going to put the link for that video because it is interesting. So yeah, that's you faked being sick.
Right.
Broke out of handcuffs, and you won't tell me how.
That remains one of my
trade secrets.
Yeah, one of my trade secrets.
Yeah, you never know if you need that in the back pocket,
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I won't need it.
Yeah, that's right. So you get out and you do the old Washington, what is it, bail out?
Washington Bail Out's what they called it.
So you're fast on your feet.
I was pretty fast on my feet, considering that I ran track in high school. Me and my brother. My brother was once all-state. He was pretty fast too.
Okay.
So I kind of looked up to my brother, and but as I said, I fell by the wayside. Contributing to the things that was going on.
Yeah.
I had a lot of nice stuff. I had a lot of good stuff going for me because I was always an honor student in school. I was like one of the smartest people in my class. Always in the newspapers and stuff about my high grade achievements.
Wow, that's awesome. So you escaped from that 10-year sentence.
Yeah.
And you were caught shortly after that.
Yes, sir. I was caught shortly after that, and I was when I was caught, I was wanted for a few things out in Arizona, and I wound up getting another lengthy 15-year sentence in Florence, Arizona. I was captured out there in Phoenix, Arizona, and wound up getting another lengthy sentence.
Okay. And did you escape from that prison too?
No, I didn't escape from that prison.
So, but in between those two, that's when there was a whole lot of running, right?
That was a whole lot of running. And I had actually been captured again and was in Maryland, which you seen on the video, in Hartford County. And I wound up escaping again, and that's where you saw that I had
the Hummer
faked. Yeah, well, no, that was in Ohio.
Okay.
All this was stuff that was going on in between.
Okay.
Those two times, starting in Missouri.
Wow.
Yeah, so they would actually capture me, and I would actually wind up escaping again.
Wow. So you escaped in transport. Did you ever escape from actual prison?
Yeah, that was escape from actual prison. Actually, the one that was in Hartford, Connecticut, was actually like a little prison jail within itself, and that's why I had faked my sickness.
Okay.
And got away from the deputies at going to the hospital.
Okay, so you escaped in transport.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever break out of just left the prison itself without transport or?
Well, I attempted a few things,
Okay.
and one time, I had actually been captured again. I had been actually captured 3 or 4 times, and was, successful in getting away from enforcement.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was between those two. This was between those 2 times I had been sentenced. They kept capturing me, and I kept managing to get away from them.
So, okay, and I'm trying to keep your story, keep my mind straight on your story.
Sir. Yes, sir.
So you've only been sentenced 2 times.
No.
Oh.
I was actually sentenced. I had a sentence in Arizona. I had a sentence in Ohio, which you seen. That was one of the times they captured me. I had which was a 4-year sentence. I had a sentence in Maryland. For 7 years, I had a sentence in Louisiana, which I just completed, and I had another sentence that was in Arkansas.
Okay.
So altogether, I really was facing like a life sentence.
Wow. And none of this, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, was drug induced.
No, sir, it wasn't drug induced. It was just a case of
love of money.
The love of money, yeah, which was I was highly affected by mentally. Somewhat brainwashed, you can say, and I thought it was everything, which I now know was the root of all evil, and it affected me highly and practically ruined my life.
Man, wow. And that's the thing, like, it's such a fascinating story,
Yes,
but
sir.
what you just said, you said it ruined my life.
Yes, sir.
Like, none of this stuff is cool. Like, it's a fascinating story, and God can certainly be glorified through it. It's interesting to hear about, but none of this is the dream.
None of this is the dream. None of it should ever be glorified. But I think that, me going through everything that I went through was, I think God continued to have his hand in it, because my parents, we was raised in a Christian church, and we was raised under the Christian beliefs to which I still stand by today.
Yeah.
And I read something in the Bible that, people that don't know God, and I always question that, why, they didn't get chastised. And I know that God says that his children, the ones that do know right from wrong, they're going to be the ones that suffer the most. And I'm a witness to understand that I was one of those that suffered the most, because I did know right from wrong. And even when I was doing these crimes and doing things, I felt his wrath.
Wow.
I felt it. And I'm talking about, it was a physical feeling in a spiritual realm.
Wow. Man. So you're doing all this crazy stuff. Like, I mean, and I would imagine there's a rush that goes along with a car chase.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like, is there an aspect of fun, or is it just scary, so it's thrilling? Like,
well, the rush for me was, when, the police would get behind me and would chase me, I was kind of flamboyant because I was pretty good with driving. And, they knew, my driving was really proliferant. And I actually kind of like enjoyed getting away from them, and the rush didn't dawn on me until after the chase was over. And I was pretty flamboyant and thought that I would never be able to get caught by law enforcement, but that was obviously bad thinking.
Right. And so, like, when you're in a car chase, because we didn't ever talk about this, but
Right.
you would do the Ole Washington Bail Out.
The Ole Washington Bail Out.
And what is that?
Well, I would, in the middle of a chase, I would steer the car somewhere to where I was real conscious about like where I was, and even though I got into a lot of car chases and stuff, my intentions never really was to hurt nobody. So I would always find wooded areas, as you'll see on the video and stuff like that, to where I knew that I can get out. I would drive the car and actually let the car go and leave the police focused on the car trying to stop it, and I would get out the car and I would actually run. Take
off running.
Yeah, and that was pretty fast.
Yeah. Did you try to get a good look at the cops to see if they were donut cops or if they were fit cops? Like, can I outrun this guy?
Well, yeah, I pretty much sized
Like
up.
look in the rearview mirror, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
they eat donuts. I got this.
right. Well, my adrenaline. Well, I never really did get a chance to actually look at them, but my adrenaline was the thing that drove me the most, and I knew that once I got out that car, they wouldn't be able to catch me.
Yeah. Oh, because you're just. But even with all that, the rush of it, you had Christ in your heart, so you had conviction the whole time.
Yes, sir. The whole time I did, I just didn't know it yet, but my heart, I always did have light in my heart, and but I made some bad choices, and I never really did intend on hurting people and stuff like that. My crimes I never went into it thinking that I was going to hurt somebody, but really I was doing the most, and I really was hurting people.
Yeah. Wow. And we completely missed this. I mean, you started robbing banks too.
Yes, sir.
And you don't even know how many, or you don't want to say, because you've probably been convicted of a certain amount.
Well, I was actually convicted in the state of Arkansas, and I received a very, very lengthy sentence that put me over the top. That would have gave me a life sentence, and I actually had most of it ran concurrent with all my other sentences that was out in Arizona, that was in Maryland, that was in Ohio, that was in Louisiana, and I actually had it ran concurrent, but I still had a lot of overhang left on that sentence, and when I was released and I thought that I was going to have to go back and do a lot of that time, that's when God intervened in my life.
Wow.
And had something different planned for me.
Okay. And I want to get to that like soon, but just to understand the timeline of when did you start robbing banks? Was that before the first arrest or after the first arrest?
This was actually before the first arrest.
Okay.
And everything was being alleged. And when I had got caught on the second arrest in Missouri, I hadn't been convicted, but I was only wanted. And when I was in the state of Missouri, I actually had to file for a speedy trial to go back out to Arkansas to face those charges.
Okay. So you're stealing cars, start robbing banks, and it just escalated to that point.
Yes, sir. It escalated to that point.
And then at one point you escaped and you were free, or not free, but for years, right?
Yeah, I was free for years, over 5 years.
Just looking over your shoulder.
Looking over my shoulder from 1997 all the way to 2002.
Wow.
And I was wanted by the FBI, and those was the first times that I actually.
So you can't call mom and dad. You can't.
Yeah.
You were good at hiding, obviously.
Right. And then I didn't want to involve my people in none of my stuff, being that my mother was already an employee at the FBI office.
Yeah.
And who was, word through the grapevine that she was actually trying to get me to turn myself in. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to face that time, because what was being said is if I would have turned myself in, I could have got a 7-year sentence, and I just would have been done with everything. But me due to the mental framework that I was in at that time, I declined the offer.
Wow. And then, so you get arrested multiple times, escape multiple times.
Yes, sir.
You did time in a prison in Arizona.
Yeah, Florence.
That was underground?
Yeah, Florence, Arizona. This
is ADD. I'm sorry. Are you tracking with me? Because I'm all over the place.
Yes, I received a 15-year sentence in Arizona, and it all had to attain to my escapes. And I actually had a simple charge, which was auto theft and possession of stolen property, because I had reverted back to some of my old ways when I was on the run. And they actually gave me a lengthy prison sentence because I had been media prone. My name was all over the media. And a lot of y'all out there might be familiar with Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who used to be in Arizona. He was Arizona's #1 sheriff.
Okay.
And, he publicly, said that he had a thing that he was going to make sure that he had me, that I would never escape again. Mm-hmm. And it played a role in me getting a lengthy sentence of 15 years. And then I was transported to the prison of Florence, Arizona, which is called Central Unit. It was one of the most notorious prisons in Arizona. Had a lot a lot of high-profile cases in there, including mines. And they had this area called SMU-1 and SMU-2, which was known as a special management unit. One of them was extreme supermax for a special management unit, and the other one was a moderate supermax for a special management unit. And between those two areas is where I spent the most of that 15-year sentence at.
Wow. So it's underground. You're not seeing daylight.
No, I'm not seeing daylight. And this was in Central Unit on the other side where they was holding death row inmates at.
Wow.
And so I was actually the last prisoner who left out when they wound up closing the prison in 2002. And I was actually the last prisoner who was transported out of that prison, and I had to sign a ledger. And they closed it down because they had deemed it, Governor Doug Ducey had deemed it to be unfit for inmates.
Wow. And I mean, overall, I mean, you spent how many years in prison?
Total? Overall total, I spent over 23 years in prison. 23
years in prison.
Yes, sir.
And what's it, I mean, is it just like awful, or do you just kind of learn how to make a life in there? I mean, try to make friends? I mean...
Well, in prison, you really don't have no friends. You just got to kind of find like-minded people, and then you assert those titles to whether you want to be friend or foe or whatever like that. But in my situation, in those extreme supermaxes and stuff like that, it was, those places are designed to mentally mess with you a little bit. But I found that I was able to adapt by reading my Bible and by pretty much educating myself on all fronts of scientific fields, where I became proliferant in neurobiology, neuroscience. I studied psychology, environmental and developmental, and became pretty fluid in the field of physics, mostly particle physics and astrophysics, which is my platform today.
Okay. So to keep your sanity, you just kept stimulating your mind, learning.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, and that was the only way that
to stay unbroken, I guess.
Right. Because that's all I had was books.
Yeah.
That's all that we was afforded in those cells. We couldn't have nothing in there. We couldn't have radio. You could have pencil and paper. You was in a room that didn't have no windows. And you pretty much had to utilize what you had. And I found that being a constant study was something that helped me to endure those stressful situations that I encountered.
Wow. My goodness. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I mean, like I said, I've done a lot of prison ministry. I've spent some time ministry-wise at Angola, and you can actually build a decent life. I mean, if you behave yourself, you can even drive around in a car. I mean, it's thousands of acres, so there's even a small element of freedom. But underground in a cell seems very inhumane.
Yeah, it was,
especially to someone who wasn't a murderer.
Right. And actually, on maybe like one of the most lesser charges that you can get, which I received. Not quite like I had received when I was out in Arkansas, but it was my most second lengthy sentence, and where I actually wasn't able to escape from.
Wow, man. And so, you get released from there. Then you spent your last stint in Louisiana?
Oh, no, I was extradited back to Missouri,
where
I had to go back and complete that 10-year sentence. But by me being, I had become a model inmate when I was in Arizona, and I had taken a lot of classes in which all that information had transferred with me, and I had to go back to Missouri to face a parole board, which I used all those accolades to go before a board and was granted an early release based on my model behavior in prison.
Okay. And that's where you're released?
No. I was actually, after my Missouri, I had to come back to Louisiana and face a sentence here for 2 years, which I then made parole again. And that's now this is when I just received my discharge.
So you didn't spend too much time in Louisiana?
No, I didn't.
Too much of the 2 years?
No, just 2 years. I did 2 years.
Oh, you did 2 years?
Yes, sir.
Where at?
And first I was in Elaine Hunt's correctional facility where I did 13 months, and I did the remainder of those 2 years at Dixon Correctional Institute in Jackson. Yes, sir.
Did you know? Did you meet Lawton Searcy, the chaplain over there?
Yeah, I actually went to school with him in New Orleans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he now runs the chapel program over there, and
the veterans dorm. He's over that.
Right. Yeah, he's a pretty nice guy, and I actually talked to him right before I left, and he was elated by my story because I actually shared it with him, and. He was like, he knew that I was going to do some great things, and I thanked him for all of his thoughtfulness over that prison ministry at Dixon Correctional
Institute. Yeah, they do a good job.
They do a great job.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so man, share with us. We kind of have a snapshot of the journey.
Right.
At what point did you feel like Christ truly got your heart?
Well, when I was made to, it was actually in Arizona when I was in
underground.
In that solitary confinement with next to death row inmates. My cell was actually in front of the last meal chamber, so I would. We would see those guys, we would talk to those guys, but at this point, they wasn't actually doing the
executions.
The executions, and but my cell was right in front of the last meal chamber.
So where they would get their last meal.
Where they would get their last meal at, and this was in Florence, Arizona, in Central Unit, and it was there where I had an encounter with God, and I was made to be able to pay attention to what he was trying to tell my heart. And at this time, I had lost my mother, I had lost my grandmother, and I had lost a lot of my close family members. And my eyes had, opened up to the realization that it had to be no way up from this point here, because I had already hit rock bottom and I didn't know nothing. And it was a couple of times where my mind wandered and I went through a bout of depression. And, through it all, something with God was still with me and was telling me that he had my back the whole time.
Wow. So you have this spiritual experience.
Yes, sir.
Where, did that kind of change the way you did time after that?
Yeah, it changed my way that I did time because I was made to look back at my behaviors and stuff. It was almost as if some blinders had been lifted off my eyes.
Wow.
Because I couldn't see the wrongs that I was doing, and I was real flamboyant that I was saying that when I was doing all those escapes and stuff like that. And I always thought, I never really did stress at that point because I always thought, well, I just escape again. You know what I'm saying? And that was always in the back of my mind. But God had something different planned for me. And once I was made to sit down and I couldn't escape no more, that's where that interaction had happened to me when I was at my rock bottom.
Okay. Wow. So you came out differently this time.
Yes, sir, I did.
Man, what a journey.
Yeah, it was quite a journey. And when God touched my heart and started turning my life around and giving me a new thought process on things, I began to realize what was going on around me with other individuals that was facing the same experiences that I was. And then once my heart had been settled, my heart started to go out to them. So I just wanted to try to invest my time and use my story which was a strong one, because there is a lot of guys in there who say that they did this, they did that. And by the time I actually went in there, a lot of people knew who I was. Mm-hmm. And I actually was approached about, hey, man, you know how to get out of here?
Right.
We want to get out of here too, And I'm like, hey, I could tell you something else. I could tell you about Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
So once you found Christ, he gave you like a whole mission inside of there. You became a missionary.
I became a missionary. I was actually a sponsor for NA, and a lot of young guys, I had noticed that a lot of things started trending out on the streets. So a lot of guys was coming in confused, didn't know, which way they wanted to go, because it was a point in time where you actually would have men coming in that would come in and change their life and would leave out and be better. But now with the drugs and stuff that's in the prisons, it's everywhere. Yeah. I've actually seen more drugs in the prison than I have in the streets.
I know that's true.
And, drugs, the drug culture is very strong. So you have a lot of people that's coming in and falling by the wayside and losing all hope for life. There's a lot of depression in there. There's a lot of corruption going on. And there's only a few bright lights in there that, that's interacting with these individuals. And like you were saying, the chapel at Dixon Correctional Institute, he's doing some real good things for those fellas over there. And I just want to give a shout out to him and thank him for, and just thank him for all the things that he's doing over there, because he's doing a great job.
Wow. That's great. Terrence, what's like your dream now? Because your life's not finished. How old are you?
Well, I'm 50 years old.
You're only 50.
Yes,
still 50 is the new 40, they say. Right, so you're only 40. What is what's your dreams? Because your life is not over.
Well, my dreams is I always, once I learned about physics and stuff like that, I wanted, to kind of expand on the field of physics and stuff, because I had, there's a lot of questions that's circulating around in physics. Is physics finished? And, I actually come up with my own theory of everything, and I married it with all the other scientific subject matters and stuff like that to be able to explain a lot of stuff that Stephen Hawking couldn't understand, or Albert Einstein. But I also build my research up on the science of those giants. Mm-hmm. And I just want to expand on the field of physics. And next year in June, I will be applying for a Nobel Prize in physics.
Come on.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
So you got some big dreams.
I have some big dreams.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Man, let me ask you this. If you could tell young Terrence one thing, what would you tell him? I
would tell him, listen to your mother and listen to your father.
Yeah.
Because, my mother and my father, they instilled in me and my older brother. I only have one other older brother. They instilled in us all the values, the morals and ethics and codes of Christ. And always try to make sure that we had the things that we needed to live, without being so much overbearing on the materialistic things. And, they used to tell us things right from wrong, and used to try to guide us in, the right direction, as far as like education goes. But, being young like that and not being experienced to what the environment pre-programmed you to do and stuff like that, I didn't understand what they were saying. And it didn't dawn on me till after, I actually was in prison and I had a chance to reflect back on my life and understand what they was actually trying to say and why they were saying it the way they were saying it. And, I actually have a son. My son is in Denver, Colorado. He's doing good out there. He's working. And
how old is he?
He's 35.
35, wow.
Yeah, 35 years old. And some of those things from behind bars, I was able to instill in, my son and build a relationship with him, because the relationship was kind of broken because I had actually been in prison a long time and he had to go through a lot of stuff. And basically, if I can go back and tell myself something, I would tell myself to listen to my mother and father and to be more Christ-like and follow in his footsteps. And, Yeah, and that pretty much would have saved me, because I definitely had to reflect back on those messages and lifelong learnings and teachings of my parents, what they was trying to instill in me and my brother.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I was talking to I have two sons, but I was with my 14-year-old yesterday, and they see a lot. Just being a part of our families, our ministry. They see on the recovery side, they see the aftermath, of addiction. But on the church side, they see a whole nother set of craziness, people making terrible decisions, just. And I asked him yesterday, I was like, man, from your perspective, when you see these, people making the decisions they make, you see Restoring Purpose Ministry, you see the aftermath of addiction, or you see, these people, because, one of the hard things about being a pastor's kid is you have these people that are at your dinner table that love you. Right. And then they'll just turn their back on you without even saying goodbye. So what a strange experience for a kid. Right. Oh, wait, I thought these people loved us, but they didn't even tell me goodbye, and they're out of my life now. So, I never had that experience really growing up. And I'm because I'm not a pastor's kid. I said, well, Abram, what is your perspective on this? And he goes, I just don't understand why people don't just do things God's way. Right. Why they make these decisions. And because, my fear, is that somehow the enemy would twist our work to grip my boys. You know what I mean? Right. Somehow, but at this point, they're like, man, I want no part of that. I want, and if people would just do things God's way, young kids that are that don't have a shot as far as not coming from a good family. Right. Man, if they could just had an opportunity to learn God's way and do it God's way, it would spare everyone from a lot of pain. It would spare them from a lot of pain. It would spare even those who come up in good families, have all the opportunities. It is the way, the truth, and the life. It is the way to have a good life. That's right. But that lure of, or that draw of the world, in some contexts, the gangster life, like we were talking about earlier, the mobster life, all that sounds so cool. Right. It's terrible. The draw of street life, the draw of crime life, the draw of sex with every woman that you have an opportunity, the draw of fast money. Right. It does seem so fun and so awesome. Right. But the end is not. Right. It's a very vulgar message. It's pure evil. Yeah. Like I was saying, I was influenced by rap music and stuff like that. And you can kind of listen to the rap music today in the culture and see that it's very demonic. You know what I'm saying? It plays a high influence on a lot of young men and women these days. And, they have a false perception of reality. And it takes them further away from, being in their spirituality and kind of deadens them on the inside to Christ-like, and basically, it's a far away from home, and it's something that that's probably going to have to be addressed in the future, because it's taking a lot of young people down the wrong path, and I just think that it's something that if I did have some more kids in my life, I definitely would encourage them not to listen to no rap music. Yeah. Yeah, because it paints a picture of what's, that's how the culture gets you. It paints a picture of this is what's normal, this is what success is, this is what winning looks like, this is what cool is. Yeah. And I would say that not all rap music is bad, but just, the demonic lyrics and the trance-like state beats, that have, people out there being influenced to go out and do things that they shouldn't be doing, that is pretty much making nice communities into graveyards. Yeah. Wow. Well, man, Terrence, I'm so thankful for what God has done in your life. I started this podcast because I meet so many interesting people, and I think people's stories need to be heard. Yes, sir. And the only stories worth telling is a redeemed life.
Yes, sir.
I don't think your story would have been encouraging before Arizona, right?
Right,
It would have been
right.
just,
Had
but now that we see, okay, Terrence is a changed man. He's free. He's free in more ways than one. He's got Jesus in his heart.
Right.
You have peace. You have joy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so it's certainly a story worth telling. And I believe you're going to make a big difference, man. Take every opportunity to share your story because, hey, ministry didn't have to stop in prison, right?
Yes, sir.
I bet you're making an impact at RPM. You're a charismatic type person. I mean, that's, charismatic people are like, you like them right away. Like I met you and immediately, okay, I like this guy.
Thank you.
And God uses that gift for good, and the devil can use it for evil, right? Because charismatic people can do a lot of good things, and they can do a lot of bad things.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And so your purpose isn't over. You're making an impact at Restoring Purpose Ministries, and I believe you're going to continue making an impact on this world.
Yes, sir. I think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also would like to say, thank you for also accepting me into your program. I think it's a beautiful program that you have going on, helping people to restore their purpose on life, facing substance abuses and stuff like that, and a lot of other things that come along with that, and just allowing me to come out and have peace in my life, because I got to say it's a real peaceful environment that you create in RPM. And there's a lot of guys who are thankful for what you're doing, and really their heart go out to this program, as well as you and your family as well. And I just would like to just give a shout out to you, for all the guys that knew I was coming on here, and we just want you to know we thank you and we love you.
Man, that means a lot. Thank you. It's humbling to get to be a small part of people's lives being turned around. I love seeing these men doing so well, and it brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that so much. I tell them all the time, that's a way bigger house than I live in. It's like over a 12,000 square foot house. I tell them all the time, like, if my wife kicked me out, I'm moving in, and I'm going to pull rank, and I'm going to kick y'all out of the bedroom. I'm going to have my own bedroom, my own bathroom. Right. But, like, I love hanging around that house and love getting to know the men, because, there's so many fun, enjoyable guys in that house.
And that's what makes it different, because, a lot of people could talk that talk and walk that walk, but being more hands-on, where people can actually experience your characteristics and see the good that you're doing, and the things that you're implementing in there for people's restorative purposes and stuff like that, like the weights. Like, I was actually able to come out and continue my weightlifting program and exercise and fitness, to which some of the guys are now coming out and we're working together.
Some of them dudes needs to work out.
Right.
Man, you missed these two big giants we had in there. They ate us out of house and home, and they didn't lift one weight except for when they stood up.
Right.
Well, Terrence, any closing thoughts, man?
My closing thoughts would be that, everybody has a past, and that no matter what you may have done or what you may have come through, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And no matter how bad you think, you've done things, or how bad people think you were, God can come and set his presence in your life at any time and take you away from that and turn your life into something that's beautifully bright, and can have you on a journey where, his whole mission is to be able to enjoy his eternity. And he definitely has something in store for all of us. And change can be imminent if you allow Christ in your life. He will deal with your problems, but you have to meet even, and he has to see that your heart is sincere, because that's the only way he's going to be able to interact with you, through sincerity. And he knows his children. And if change is in your heart, if that's something that you truly want to experience, he can help you along that road. Jesus is real. For a long time, I didn't, even though my parents was Christians and stuff like that, the message didn't resonate. I was one of those type of guys who was like, okay, well, Jesus got to show me, but I'm here to tell you that I am living proof of what Jesus can do. And he, no matter what man says or what man has in store for you, God's power is greater than anything in this land of physical manifestation. At the end of the day, he is the ultimate in-chief backer.
Yes. Well said, man. Well said. Thank you so much, Terrence.
You're welcome, Pastor
Appreciate you,
Chad.
man. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too and your family. And I hope y'all see many more coming up in a well-seen future.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, man.
Thank you.